Let's add some butter to this pot, a good amount of butter. Get that going. We have some onion and carrot. Gonna go ahead and cook that down in the butter. There's some garlic. I did cook the onion and carrot for a while before I added the garlic. I didn't want to cook the garlic as long. Stir that. Just trying to get some color on the onions and cook the carrot a little bit. There I just dumped in some flour because I'm working on a gravy here, and here's chicken stock. So this is chicken pot pie. So we're doing some gravy here. There's the rest of that chicken stock. Just kind of stirring that in, and a bit of dry parsley there. The only herb I used, and some salt and pepper. Keep the seasoning kind of basic. I didn't go with any elaborate spice mix in here. Nothing that crazy. That's some heavy cream there. So we're just about done with our filling. Here's what it looks like before I dump the chicken and the peas into it. So there it is. You can see it's pretty thick. And if we wanted it to be thick, I ended up cooking it a little bit longer. All right, so now we're going on to the pie dough. So I'm putting some flour, also has a little bit of sugar and salt in it. I'm putting that in here, and I'm putting my fat in there. So this is beef tallow. I've got some beef tallow that was in my fridge. I cut it up and I put it back in the fridge, and it's nice and solidified. Kind of looks like chunks of butter. You normally make this with chunks of butter. That's how that goes. This is some ice water, a little less than 2 tablespoons of ice water in there. So I have a small food processor, so I ended up having to do this in batches in order to get enough pie crust to do this pie. I had to do 4 batches of this. So you're just going to see me pulsing here, mixing that flour, salt, sugar mixture with that cold beef fat, and just incorporating that slowly. This is what I found a recipe said to use the food processor instead of doing it by hand, so I decided to go for that. This was my first time making pie crust, so that's what I went with. So yeah, after doing 4 batches of that, here's the pie crust. You can probably maybe tell already that it's a little too dry. I ended up finding that out and had to fix it a little bit later on. We'll see. But here's me getting that onto the board, kind of pressing it down, and I'm going to separate this. I need 2 parts. The recipe called to make enough, for like a bottom and a top of a pie. So that's how much that made. So here I am taking half of it, putting that on a piece of plastic wrap and wrapping that up. And I wrapped up both parts of the dough and put them in the fridge. I let those chill out. Here's a shot of the filling. That's after I dumped the chicken and the peas in there. So that's the filling after it's been chilled out for a while. It's just hanging out. All right, so the dough has had time to chill out in the fridge. Taking out the first piece here. I forgot to flour the board. I forgot to flour my... See, I had to pick it up and put some flour on the board. I didn't put enough flour on the board either. I learned that. But I put some flour on the board. I put the dough back on there. I end up putting some flour on the rolling pin. Start to roll this out. You can see how much it's crumbling. Yeah, it's too dry of a dough, but you're going to see me struggle through it here a little bit. Well, you would see more struggling, but I'm not including all that. Here it is, flattened out. So yeah, I was able to flatten it out, but it kept sticking to the pin. Well, I didn't have enough flour on the pin, I don't think. Here I am again trying to actually lift up. I'm trying to lift up the dough onto the rolling pin so I can pick it up and move it over to the pie pan and drop it on there, but it's crumbling apart as I'm doing it because, again, my dough is too dry. But here, I ended up just putting the crust as it was into the pan and just kind of working it into the pan there. And after I got that sorted, I put the pie filling there. There we go. You can see on the board there's more flour, so I ended up calling in some reinforcements on this dough. I pulled out the other piece of dough and I started to work it for a bit. Realized I was going to struggle again trying to get this thing on the pan and onto the pie, and I didn't want to mess that up. I didn't want to try to, you know, put a broken crumbling thing onto the thing. So here I have an assistant putting a bit of water on the dough, lifting it up and starting over here. And here's how it's supposed to look when you get the dough nice and lifted, rolled onto your, onto your rolling pin and onto the pie. There we go. That's exactly what I was going for. I'm going to nail it next time. So here I am just kind of, oh, yeah, getting that top of the pie situated, cutting some slits. I threw this in the oven. Here it is after the bake. I actually forgot to put the egg wash, so the color is not as brown as I was going for, but I will nail that next time. So that's the pie after it's cooled off. That was before it cooled off, I think. Here it is, cutting into it after I let it cool off for about 15 minutes to not severely burn myself. Plus, it probably helps to, it probably keeps the filling more solid, I would guess. And there we go. Get it on the plate. That's a close shot of it there. Looking pretty good, and it tasted really good. I will definitely be doing this this cook again. Give that a taste.